Hi, I'm Kimber Rose. In today's Confessions from the Vault, we'll be discussing the G-spot. As a sexual health educator for the past 10 years, I can truly say that this topic alone is the topic that I get asked the most questions about. Questions ranging from why does it feel like I have to pee when I'm having sex? What is this G-spot? What's the squirting? Where's the G-spot located? How do I stimulate the G-spot? There's so many questions surrounding the G-spot. And I feel like in general, there's so many questions surrounding the G-spot because it's not like a hugely studied piece of the anatomy, right? Like I want to say, like, even just recently in the last 30 years, they've really started discovering more about the G-spot. So let's begin with, where is the G-spot? So the G-spot is located about 1 to 3 inches inside the vaginal canal. It's situated towards the front, so a little bit more of an anterior position. So it's like 2 fingers in, and you do this sort of come hither motion, and then you'll locate the G-spot. It has a very distinctive texture to it, almost like with men and their prostate, how it feels like a walnut. It's very similar. So if you were to take your tongue and touch the roof of your mouth, it feels a little bit rough. That's what the G-spot feels like. Also, if you took your tongue and feel the inside of your cheek, that's what the vaginal canal feels like. It's a very smooth type of texture. So the G-spot and where it's located doesn't really lend for like easy stimulation, if you will. One of the things that I educate women about is how to actually explore your G-spot. And I always encourage women that when you go on this self-exploration journey, that you don't do it with the intention of achieving an orgasm, but more so you do it with the intention of just finding your G-spot, getting to know your anatomy, and getting to know what feels good. Everybody's different on how they like their G-spot stimulated. Some women are very sensitive, and so some women like this sort of easy, gentle, sort of nurturing, caressing type of motion, and some women like it really hard and fast. And so you have to figure out what it is that you like and what your preference is and what stimulates it to make it feel best for you. What is the G-spot? Let's talk about that for a second, because I feel like that information has really been changed throughout the years. As they come out with more research, they realize, oh wait, it's not really what we thought it was, because they used to think it was like the size of a dime, and then when it's stimulated, it becomes about the size of a quarter. And that's really not the case anymore. What they are realizing is sort of this G-spot area, if you will. It's not so much a spot per se, but it's sort of like this parking lot of nerves that meet at the end of the clitoral legs. If you watched one of the videos that I put out earlier, which discusses the anatomy of the orgasm, I talk about the anatomy of the clitoris and where it's situated. And so the clitoris has legs. It's not just this little tiny gland that you see. It actually has these legs that kind of form inside the vaginal canal. And the G-spot is sort of like at the back of those legs. So that's why they call it this parking lot of nerve bundles. So now that you know where the G-spot is and what the G-spot is, I bet you're kind of wondering, Kimber, how do I stimulate my G-spot? So the way to stimulate your G-spot, if you're solo and you're doing your self-exploration, I always tell women that the best way to find your G-spot on your own is if you're in a squatted position. And I know that sounds really weird and it will feel very uncomfortable, but if you're in a squatted position, it decreases the distance between your arm and your pelvic region. And so you have more leverage, if you will, that you can insert your fingers into the vaginal opening. Or you can be on your back and you can use a toy that has a curve to it. Either way, there's no wrong way. It's just, I'm trying to give you some tips to make it easier for you. Now, if you're exploring with your partner, maybe your partner is using their fingers, or maybe your partner is using a toy. It's totally up to you and how you want to discover where your G-spot's located and what it feels like when it gets stimulated. A lot of women report that when their G-spot gets stimulated, it feels like they have the urge to urinate. And they get confused by this because they think, oh my God, I'm gonna pee during sex. Or while that G-spot ejaculate is happening, or when they're squirting, they think that they're urinating during sex. And while generally speaking, you can't come and go at the same time, There is a medical diagnosis that is called sexual incontinence, and you can urinate during sex, but it is very, very rare, and it's not typically the case. Squirting or female ejaculate is actually not urine. A lot of people think it is. It's not. The fluid does have some qualities of urine, like it does have urea, it has uric acid, it has creatine, but the defining ingredient, if you will, that makes up this fluid of ejaculate is the PSA, the prostate-specific antigen, which is only found in ejaculate. It's only found in male ejaculate, but there is a hint of it that is also found in female ejaculate. Why is that? Well, the prostate is very much the same or similar tissue as our Skene's glands. The Skene's glands are located on either side of the clitoral head internally, which is why you have to insert 2 fingers in and go forward towards the clitoris, because those are where the Skene's glands are located. So the Skene's glands are very important to the G-spot and the ejaculate that happens. Just like you really don't have an ejaculation without the prostate, you can't have an ejaculation without those Skene's glands. The Skene's glands are responsible for creating lubrication in the vaginal canal once we get turned on or once we're stimulated, and so they have a very vital role. Now that you know most everything about the G-spot, I bet you're wondering, what's the best position for me to experience one of those G-spot orgasms? And there are 4 great positions, but you can really explore the G-spot in any position that you want with your partner. But these 4 have been tried and true, and people really report that these are the best positions. So the first position is in a missionary position with your legs pretty far back. It raises up the pelvic area so that entry can go more anterior. Reverse cowgirl or cowgirl, and doggy style. Those are the 4 positions that people report give them the best stimulation to achieve a G-spot orgasm. So now that you know a little bit more about the G-spot, I hope that you will in turn educate your friends so that there really isn't this shame associated with women who have these G-spot orgasms. I'm Kimber Rose. This has been Confessions from the Vault, and I so appreciate that you spent some time with me today.